I'm going to tell you a true story about a call we got last week. It was about I'm laughing because it's a crazy story. It was a call for a survey. Some lady wanted help. She was she was in escrow to buy a vacant lot in Carmichael. If you're not from California, you may not know. Carmichael is a pretty expensive suburb of Sacramento, California. So there was a vacant lot in a really nice neighborhood. And she was in escrow to buy the lot. They were gonna buy the lot. It was vacant. They were gonna build a custom home on it. So she reached out to help. Reached out to us to get help. She said, "I need help. I know I need a survey, and I want help getting my building permit to build my home." She said, "Can you help me with that?" I said, "Absolutely. We can do a survey for you. Get you a boundary and topo survey. We can help you find an architect or a civil if you need one. If you don't have one, and we can work with them to get you a site plan and get your building permit." She said, "Okay, that'd be great." She gave me the information on the parcel. She said, "Let me know what it would take to get the survey done." So I started pulling the land records. We're going to take a quick look at that and to get her a fee estimate for the boundary survey and the topo survey. And after I'd done some of that initial land records research, I let her know. I said, "Hey, I got good news. Your parcel was surveyed. I can probably find some of these property corners, so it's not going to be super expensive. We can get this done for you relatively quickly at a pretty reasonable price." So she said, after I talked to you, I went back and talked to my real estate agent, and my real estate agent told me not to worry about getting a survey because we already had a survey, so we didn't need one. And I said, that's interesting. I said, I still think you should probably get a survey, and let me explain why. And so I explained to her why. I said, "You need to go back and talk to your real estate agent, but I think you got bad advice from your real estate agent." Now, you're probably thinking, well, of course you'd say that, Landon. You wanted to sell this lady a survey. But I want to be clear here. One thing we work really hard to do at Redefine Horizons, my company, is not sell people surveys they don't need. Nobody's happy in that situation. When the client finds out they're not happy, and I want to work for clients that send a thank you note with the bill, right? That's what we try and do. Okay, but you still may not believe me. So I want to explain why I think this is really bad advice that this lady got from her real estate agent. So why was this advice so bad? Okay, so here's what the real estate agent didn't tell the buyer. Either because the real estate agent didn't know, or the real estate agent didn't want the buyer to know. One of the two. So the survey that everybody was talking about was it was over 40 years old. So it was done back in the 1960s. So, and a lot of construction had happened around these 2 or 3 parcels on this survey since the survey was done. So there was a good chance that more than one of the property corner monuments was gone, had been taken out. And a 40-year-old survey, that's way past the statutory period for unwritten rights in California. So what that means is, if for some reason there was an encroachment on the property, or somebody was using the property in a way that wasn't authorized, that use could quite likely have gone on long enough for that individual to establish legal unwritten rights to the property, because the last survey was 40 years ago, right? So bottom line is, it wasn't an ancient survey, but it was an old. I mean, the survey is almost as old as me, and I have forehead wrinkles. So it wasn't a recent survey by any stretch of the word, and a lot could have changed on the ground since the last survey was obtained. So that was the first thing. I don't think the real estate agent, she told the buyer, "Don't worry about it. You got a survey. You don't need one." Well, there was a survey, but it was old. It was 40 years ago. Okay, the second thing. The second reason why I think that was really bad advice was this purchaser had told me their whole goal was to immediately pull a building permit and build a custom home on this lot they were building. And you're not going to do that with a 40-year-old survey. Okay, first of all, the survey from 40 years ago wasn't a topographic survey. It was just a boundary survey. And in most cases, especially in a place like Carmichael, if you want to get a building permit, you need a site plan that shows a current boundary survey and a current topographic survey. So she didn't have that. She didn't have what she needed to get a building permit. Now, here's what I explained to the buyer. I said, "Look, you don't have to get a survey now. You can wait till after the sale and then get your survey." I said, but why would you do that? If you know you're going to pull a building permit as soon as possible, get the survey right now before escrow closes. That way, if I find a problem, you can go work with the seller and get it resolved. I said, if you wait, your seller and your real estate agent are going to be long gone. They're going to be, they're going to ride off into the sunset, and whatever problems I find, you're going to be stuck with. Get the survey now, right? Okay, so there was no way she was going to get through the building permit process without a current survey, right? Not only that, but any decent architect or civil engineer she hired was going to need a good current survey, boundary and topographic survey to design the custom home. So I don't feel like the real estate, either the real estate agent was ignorant or she was being disingenuous, right? If she knew, and I assume she did, if she knew or he knew, whoever the broker was, that the client was going to buy that vacant lot and build a home on it, then they shouldn't have been telling the buyer, you don't need a survey. The agent knew that the buyer was going to need a survey. You have to get a survey in that part of California to get your house built, period. Okay. The third reason I think that was really horrible advice is this lot was small, so it was not a big lot. It was a small lot. It's what we call a compact lot. In other words, the house was going to be put up either right against the property line or right against the building setback line. And in those situations, most cities, especially in expensive areas, they are going to want the building inspector to verify setbacks before concrete gets poured and walls get put up. Okay? In order to do that, the building inspector is going to need the property corner monuments in, right? And because they want to be able to pull a tape measure off a string line between property corner monuments. And on a 40-year-old survey, you don't know that all the corner monuments are in. There's a good chance that one or more of the corner monuments is missing, right? So that, again, you need a current survey with the monuments, with the property corners marked in order to get your building approved, right, for final occupation. Okay. The fourth reason in this particular case this was really bad advice is because when I pulled the 40-year-old survey, I saw that there was a 10-foot wide drainage easement that cut diagonally across the parcel. Now, that's not always a big deal, but in this particular case, they already had a fairly small lot to begin with, right? And just the way this easement was configured, first of all, 10-foot wide strip is not small. And second of all, the way this easement was configured, it ran diagonally across the parcel. I'd say it probably took out about 20 to 25% of the buildable area, right? Now, that would be a really nasty surprise to find out after you close escrow. You think you're putting a 2,500 square foot home on this lot, and then you find out you've only got room for an 1,800 square foot home. That's a big deal, right? That's a big deal, all right? Especially depending on the purchase price. Okay, so now, to be fair to the real estate agent in this case, I don't think the real estate agent knew about the easement because I don't think they looked at the survey and read and understood it. But I looked at the survey, and in the first 30 seconds, I was like, bam, there's an easement 10 foot wide, runs diagonally across that parcel. That could potentially throw a monkey wrench in this lady's plans to build her custom home, right? So for all those reasons, I think the real estate agent gave their client really bad advice, right? And here's what I told the client, the buyer. I said, look, you need to be really careful because your real estate agent has an incentive, a financial incentive to close this deal and get their commission, right? Now, I'm not saying that the real estate agent was wicked or was fraudulent, but you got to recognize what their incentive is. They want the deal to close. If the deal doesn't close, they don't get paid. Right? And so part of what I was helping her to understand is like, look, if you're going to hire me, I'm going to be around until your house gets built. Like I'm going to have a long-term relationship with you. I'm going to do the survey. I'm going to help you get your building permits. I'm going to be there to verify the building setbacks when the city asks for that. I was like, this real estate agent is going to be gone as soon as you close escrow. You're never going to see them again, right? So you got to remember what your relationship is like with your real estate agent, and you got to remember what their financial incentives are. Okay? So you got to remember your brokers have a financial incentive to close the deal quickly, and they have a short time horizon. The other thing is you got to remember, you got a 40-year-old survey. That's not a current survey. It's not a recent survey. It's not going to get you a building permit. Okay? So don't let your real estate agent tell you, oh, don't worry about it. You don't need a survey. We've got this survey. It's already been surveyed. Yeah, 40 years ago doesn't count. Right? It's not once surveyed, always surveyed, right? You can't walk into most planning departments or building departments and get a permit with a 40-year-old survey. That isn't going to work. So your broker or your real estate agent isn't qualified to tell you if you need a survey or not. They're not qualified to answer that question almost always. There might be rare exceptions to that. Like maybe if your broker is a surveyor also. But so if you're buying a parcel and you're making a big investment in a real estate transaction, don't take your agent's word for it. They don't know how to answer that question for you. If you want to know whether or not you should get a survey, talk to a good boundary surveyor or a private land planner, and they'll explain it to you, right? And if you get a good, honest boundary surveyor, they'll tell you, hey, I don't think you need a survey, here's why, or I definitely think you need a survey, and here's why, and they'll explain it. I'm not asking you to take the surveyor's word for it. Have the surveyor explain to you why she thinks a survey is needed or why she thinks a survey isn't needed. A good, honest boundary surveyor will do that. It's several times a year I get a call from somebody and I tell them, you know what, I really don't think in this particular case a survey is worth the money. Like, I would love to have your business and I would love to do this work for you, but in this particular case, I don't think a survey is worth it, right? So a good surveyor will do that for you. In this particular case, this lady definitely needed to get a survey before she bought. She was going to need one anyways, and this easement had the potential to really muck up her plans for this parcel.